Hey guys, recently we have been working on a project called Project Brain. The concept of it is that we create one source of truth for all your architecture projects. So each project has this one place where all the knowledge is stored. So be it your architectural like IFC files, or even all the construction documents, and even maybe emails go to this one place, and this data is converted into knowledge which could be used and referenced, and tools can be made with the help of agents, AI agents. And this was a API which I was playing around with, which was quite interesting. It's called the Document Extraction API. It's by Landing AI. So Andrew Ng is the founder of this, and he released this API I think 1 or 2 months ago. So what this API does is you could upload any document, and it processes this document. It could be any format, and it processes this document into chunks. So let's look at this sheet right here. It processes it into these chunks. Even like the side panel of the sheet as well is processed into chunks. And then there is a textual description generated for each chunk, and it is done with relatively very good accuracy. The way this is different from, say, something like ChatGPT is that when you upload documents into ChatGPT, um, first of all, there are like a lot of pages. So you need to do a lot of prompting where you say study page one, study page two, study page three, and like chain it. So it saves you that hassle. And there would be also a limit to the context, I guess, because yeah, if you have a document of let's say 200 pages, it wouldn't, I would say you would run into some problems. And another thing also with specific to architecture documents is that the scale of the document is really big. So when ChatGPT has to ingest this document, it finds all the details very blurry. So you could give it a PDF page by page, and then maybe it performs better. But if you give it as a whole document, it can't like get too much details out of out of a architecture document. So that way, this API is very good at um, ingesting architecture documents. You can see here how this API works. So it takes in architecture documents, and then as output, it gives you these chunks, which it breaks down into, and textual description of these chunks. So what you could do is maybe add a processor right after it, where it passes this markdown, which is it comes in markdown format, the description, and then create maybe like a vector database out of this, and you could chat with it. But the issue with this is, let's say there is a plan in one of your sheets, and then you're referencing a certain element in another sheet. It doesn't certainly it doesn't necessarily understand the relation between this element being in that plan. And also, let's say it's not going to be uh, it won't be just one document. Usually it's a set of documents, maybe 10 to 60 documents each, 30 to 60 pages. So to for it to understand the relationships between these elements mentioned in the document, this sort of direct processing or parsing isn't enough. So an approach I thought of, which I think would be interesting to explore, is that you take this output from Landing AI's document extractor, and then you do this ontology design where you try to make sense of this data, because the output that's coming out of Landing AI's API is still data, but for it to be knowledge, as in it knows um, uh, what how an element relates to a space. Let's say you have a living room, and then there are like wall elements and doors and like windows which could be considered as elements, and how do they relate to each other. So you could say a space has this contains relationship with uh, certain elements like walls, and a door is contained within this wall, and so on. So if you could create some sort of like ontology design which is based on what do you say, the way a document is structured, where way the way architecture documents are structured, and also keeping in mind what are common questions which are asked which are asked within an architectural firm. So what are queries that happen, and who are the actors like architects, contractors, what are queries they would normally do. And if we could create and design an ontology based on this, it would be interesting. And then once we create this ontology, we could create a AI workflow or automation that could process these documents and fill this ontology, like populate this ontology with this data. So I thought that could be an interesting way to explore this concept. And then from this, we could develop maybe a vector database or a knowledge graph. And then when you chat with this, and you ask it a question about a certain element like a door, it is aware that it is on this wall, within the living room, within this floor of the building, and then within this building and on this side. So it could maybe traverse through this path, and give way better and more accurate answers.